this is Pushpa. We'll sing Chaurashtakam. Praje prasiddham navanitacharam gopangananam jadukulacham aneka janma jitapacharam charadradanyam purusham namami Radhikaya hridayasya chauram Navambudashapayakanti chauram Padashrita jasamasta chauram Chauradradanyam purusham namami Akinchani kritya padashritanyam Karoti viksham pratidhamina Kenapiyaho bhishana chakraidre Vrishtajuto va jagat prayeti Yadi yenamati haryati ashesham Giri prasanam kripaparashim Ascharya rupo chaudhidri Drishtashruto vaya kadati Dhanam chamanam chatatendriyani Pranam charitva sarvaeva Palayase putra dhipavicharya Tvam bhakti damnasi maya niruddha Chinnatsi ghoram yamapashabandham Vinnatsi bhimam bhavapashabandham Chinnatsi sarvasya samastabandham Naivatmano bhakkakritam tu bandham Manamasetam saram Shreegauli Karagrahi dukhamai nibadha Labhasya he chaurahare chiraya Swadharya doshi uchitam eva dandam Karagrahi vasa sadahridai madhya Madbhakti pasha drida bandhana nischalasa Tvam Krishna he pralaya koti shatantarehi Sarvasya chaura hridayam parimachayati Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translations, yes. Anybody would want to read? I'll start. I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet.
He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering, homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard in all of the three worlds.
Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere.
O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything. Where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion.
You cut the terrible noose of Yamaraj. You sever the dreadful noose of material existence. And you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees.
O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. And there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery.
O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart, because I will not release you for millions of eons.
Hare Krishna. Bilva Mangal Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you. So,
Prabhuji, so we'll start with the prayers and then we'll start with the 9th chapter of Bhagavatam. Om Agyanti Virandasya Gyananjana Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. My Dandvat Pranam to each one of you. I'm very grateful for this service opportunity to speak about Bhagavatam. Today is Dwadashi and we had Ekadashi yesterday. So we are into the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, 9th chapter. So in this chapter, this chapter describes about Dhruv Maharaj coming back home. So we have already seen why Dhruv Maharaj went to the forest. What did he do in the forest? So basically he was doing meditation and devotional service in order to please the Lord, because he wanted to obtain a kingdom which is greater than his father and father, grandfather and great grandfather as well. So he wanted a kingdom greater than Brahma. And so because he was insulted by his stepmother Suruchi, and she did not allow him to sit on the lap of his father, saying that you cannot sit unless you take birth from her womb. So this hurt Dhruv Maharaj very much, and he became angry, and he went to the forest after his mother Suniti asked him to do devotional service to Lord Vishnu, who can only satisfy his request. So Dhruv Maharaj went to the forest. He did tapasya, and the Supreme Lord actually appeared in front of him. So when the Supreme Lord appeared in front of Dhruv Maharaj started offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, and that is what we were discussing yesterday about the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj. So we had finished 15th shloka, and we will now start today from the 16th shloka, where the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj are continued. We are left with only 3 shlokas of the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj. After that, the Supreme Lord will bless Dhruv Maharaj and give him the benediction. And once he gets the benediction, Dhruv Maharaj realizes that he has made a mistake, that despite having the Supreme Lord present before him, he's asking for material benedictions. And so he repents for that. And after repenting, he goes back home. And then there is a discussion about how he is received by his father and mother and the brothers. So this chapter actually discusses these 3 things, as I mentioned, right? First, the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj, then his lamentation about why did he, then the reply by the Supreme Lord giving him benediction, then his lamentation about why did he ask for material benefits, and then finally he going home. So we are right now in the first part of it, where he's offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. So let's begin with this shloka 4.9.16. So we had finished till 15th. Anybody who is comfortable with reciting these prayers? I just want to make sure we recite these prayers. So if anybody is interested, please go ahead and recite this shloka.
Yeah, I can try, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna. Yasmin viruddhagatiyo hi anisam patanti vidyadayo vividashakti anupurvyat tad brahma vishvabhavam eka anantam adyam आनंदमात्रम अविकारम अहम प्रपद्ये.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can you read the translation also?
Yes, Prabhuji. My dear Lord, in your impersonal manifestation of Brahman, there are always two opposing elements, knowledge and ignorance. Your multi energies are continually manifest, but the impersonal Brahman, which is undivided, original, changeless, unlimited, and blissful, is the cause of the material manifestation. Because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer you my respectful obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. So Dhruv Maharaj is talking about the Brahman, and he understands that the Supreme Lord standing in front of him is not is I mean he is not different from the Brahman, impersonal Brahman also. So Prabhupada gives a very good purport here to for this understanding of the Brahman and Paramatma and the Bhagavan features. So let's try to read this purport. Anybody would want to do that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the unlimited impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of the transcendental body of Govinda. In that unlimited effulgent aura of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, there are innumerable universes with innumerable planets of different categories. Although the Supreme Person is the original cause of all causes, his impersonal effulgence, known as Brahman, is the immediate cause of the material manifestation. Dhruva Maharaja therefore offered his respectful obeisances unto the impersonal features of the Lord. One who realizes this impersonal feature can enjoy the unchangeable Brahmananda, described here as scriptural bliss. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura describes that this impersonal feature or Brahman manifestation of the Supreme Lord is meant for the persons who are essentially very advanced but still not able to understand the personal features or variegatedness of the spiritual world. Such devotees are known as Jnana Mishra Bhaktas, or devotees whose devotional service is mixed with empiric knowledge, because the impersonal Brahman realization is a partial understanding of the absolute truth. Dhruva Maharaj offers his respectful obeisances. It is said that, shall I progress, Prabhu?
Yeah. Please go ahead, Prabhuji.
It is said that this impersonal Brahman is the distant realization of the absolute truth. Although apparently Brahman seems to be devoid of energy, factually it has different energies working under the heading of knowledge and ignorance. On account of these different energies, there is continuously a manifestation of Vidya and Avidya. Vidya and Avidya are very nicely described in Ishopanishad. It is said there that sometimes due to Avidya or a poor fund of knowledge, one accepts the absolute truth as ultimately impersonal. But in fact, the impersonal and personal realizations develop in proportion to the development of devotional service. The more we develop our devotional service, the more closely we approach absolute truth, which is the beginning, which in the beginning, when we realize the absolute truth from the distant place, is manifestation is manifest as impersonal. People in general who are under the influence of avidya,
Shakti.
Shakti, or Maya, have neither knowledge or devotion. But when a person who is a little advanced and therefore called a jnani advances even more, he is a category of a jnana mishra bhakta, or a devote whose love is mixed with empiric knowledge. When he is further advanced, he can be realized that the absolute truth is a person with a multi energies. An advanced devotee can understand the Lord and his
Creative energy.
and his creative energy. Yeah. As soon as one accepts the creative energy of the absolute truth, the six opulences of the Supreme Person of the Godhead are also understood. Devotees who are still further advanced in the full knowledge can understand the transcendental pastimes of Lord. Only on the platform one can fully enjoy transcendental bliss. As an example, is the
As an
transcendental
example
past
is given. Go ahead,
is
Prabhuji.
given. Sir. Yeah. As an example is given in this connection by Vishwanatha Chakravarti, Thakura, of a person proceeding towards a destination. As he is approaches, he sees the destination from a distance place, just as we see a city from a distance. At that time, he simply understands that the city is situated at a distance. From when he comes still nearer, however, he sees the domes and flags. But as soon as he enters the city, he sees various paths, gardens, lakes, marketplaces, and with the shops and persons buying. He sees
See,
varieties of cinema houses and he sees dancing and jubilation. When a person enters the city and personally sees the activities of the city, he becomes satisfied. Best example.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very
So
much, brother. Thank you.
yeah, so we can see here, right? There are few important points made here regarding the Brahman aspect of the Lord and his personal aspect, right? In Ishopanishad, right, where Srila Prabhupada is referring to. So in Ishopanishad, Sloka 9-10, it talks about Vidya and Avidya. In fact, more than that. So Vidya and Avidya, I mean, what is Vidya? In Ishopanishad, it is defined that considering the Supreme Lord only to be an impersonal Brahman is actually Avidya. That is what is mentioned in Ishopanishad. And Vidya is to actually know and worship and serve the absolute truth as a person, as someone who has these six opulences, right? We all know the six opulences of the Lord. So he is a person who has those six opulences, and and the Vidya is to actually serve him and worship him. So that is Vidya. Also, we have seen that Avidya also is like Ishopanishad talks about people who use Vedas only for karma kanda, or to do only sacrifices and to go to the heavenly planets and enjoy there. So uh, considering Vedas to be a way to elevate ourselves to heavenly planets is also considered as avidya, and those people are called as Vedvadrata. We had studied that in Ishopanishad. So but real knowledge is to know the reason behind the Vedas, and Krishna says that, right? I am to be known from the Vedas, right? So the Vedas, the Vidya is to understand the Vedas so that we can understand Krishna, right? So that's what Ishopanishad refers to. And then another very important thing, this comparison is made with with a city. When you look at the city from a very far place, we see only the only very I would say outline, right? When you are in an aeroplane and you are looking at the city, you cannot see the details of the city, right? You can only see maybe a few roads, few lights, that's it. But when the airplane comes down and you enter the city, right, you can see everything. Similarly, like in the first canto of Bhagavatam, it is described that the Supreme Lord has three aspects: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavati, right? So and so Brahmeti means the Brahman aspect, and as mentioned here, the Brahma Samhita actually describes the Brahman aspects to be just effulgence of the Lord, right? Effulgence of the transcendental body of Govinda. That is Brahman. And then Paramatma is the Supreme Lord who is present within each one of us, right? And then the actual Bhagavan, right? The Supreme Lord, the Absolute Truth himself, with all the six opulences and enjoying himself as a person who is the proprietor and enjoyer of everything. So and as I said, a comparison is given with the city. Another thing we can think of in this case to understand this aspect is, like, let's say there is a gulab jamun, right? Now when a gulab jamun is made, let's say a hot gulab jamun is made, you're getting the smell of that gulab jamun. So that is what would be the Brahman aspect, right? Then when you can go and let's say touch the gulab jamun, say it's soft, and you can understand its characteristics, so that you can consider is as the Paramatma aspect, where you are realizing the Supreme Lord within yourself, right? And then when you actually eat the gulab jamun, you enjoy the taste of the gulab jamun, then you understand what actually is a gulab jamun. And that I mean, just to give a comparison, that would be the personal aspect of the Supreme Lord, right? So we can understand these three aspects of the Lord with this comparison, and Vidya, and that's what I mean, Dhruv Maharaj is talking about, where he's saying that I bow down to this impersonal Brahman. He's seeing that effulgence of the Lord, and he understands that effulgence is the impersonal Brahman. That's why he says that because you are the same impersonal Brahman, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Okay, right? Let's move on. 17th, anybody would want to read this shloka?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Satyashiso hi bhagavam stava pada padmam ashistatanubhajata purushartha murte apyeva marya bhagavan paripati dina vasreva vatsakam anugraha katarosma. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'll read the translation. My Lord, O Supreme Lord, you are the supreme personified form of all benediction. Therefore, for one who abides in your devotional service with no other desire, worshipping your lotus feet is better than becoming king and lording it over a kingdom. That is the benediction of worshipping your lotus feet. To ignorant devotees like me, who are causelessly to the ignorant devotees like me, you are the causelessly merciful maintainer. Just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf by supplying milk and giving it protection from attack. Okay, so now here Dhruv Maharaj is saying supreme personified form, right? He's now talking of the personal form of the Supreme Lord, right? And he's talking about devotional service, right? Is better, and he's now also understanding that he had asked for a benediction, like he wanted a kingdom. So he's understanding that I've asked for something very lowly thing when the Supreme Lord is present before me, and so that's why he's saying that for people like us, to ignorant devotees like me, he's saying, you are causelessly merciful maintainer. So you maintain us, and just like a cow who takes care of the newly born calf. So let's read the purport. Anybody would want to read?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Dhruva Maharaja was cognizant of the defective nature of his own devotional service. Pure devotional service is without material form and is not covered by mental speculation or fruitive activities. Pure devotional service is therefore called ahaituki, unmotivated. Dhruva Maharaja knew that he had come to worship the Lord in devotional service with a motive. To get the kingdom of his father, such as adulterated
Ah, ni
devotee
aduppeji,
can never
aduppeji.
see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He therefore felt very grateful for the causeless mercy of the Lord. The Lord is so merciful that not only does he fulfills the desires of a devotee who is driven by ignorance and desires for material benefit, but he also gives such a devotee all protection, just as a cow gives milk to a newly born calf. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord gives intelligence to the constantly engaged devotee so that he may gradually approach the Lord without any difficulty. A devotee must be very sincere in his devotional service. Then, although there may be many things wrong on the devotee's part, Krishna will guide him and gradually elevate him to the highest position of devotional service. The Lord is addressed herein by Dhruva Maharaja as Purusharthamurti.
Purusharthamurti.
The ultimate goal of life. Generally, Purushartha is taken to mean execution of a type of religious principles or worship of God in order to get material benediction. Prayers for material benediction are intended for satisfying the senses. And when one is frustrated and cannot fully satisfy the senses in spite of all endeavor, he desires liberation or freedom from material existence. These activities are generally called Purushartha, but actually the ultimate goal is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Panchama Purushartha. The ultimate goal of life, the Lord Chaitanya therefore taught us not to ask from Supreme Personality any benediction such as material wealth, popularity, or a good wife. One should simply pray to the Lord to be constantly engaged in his transcendental loving services. Dhruva Maharaja, being cognizant of his desire for material benefit, wanted protection from the Lord so that he might not be misled or deviated from the path of devotional service by material desires. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much. So here this Panchama Purushartha is being talked about, and anybody knows about this? So we will I am also not aware of this, so I will also find out what is this Panchama Purushartha, right? So we should not just be behind sense gratification, and we should not pray to the Lord for material benediction, and that is what Dhruv Maharaj is saying in this, and as I explained earlier. And the most important thing is pure devotional service is ahetuki and aparihata, right? Unmotivated and uninterrupted. So we are not motivated to get any desires, not get any benedictions from the Lord, and uninterrupted. We are constantly serving the Supreme Lord, right? It's not that we do it one day and then we forget the next day. So we are continuously doing this devotional service, and this is a very, very important thing. Hetuki and unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service. But since Dhruv Maharaj, he went to the Supreme Lord for getting a kingdom, he's realizing his mistake, and that's why he's praying to the Lord. He's asking for, in a way, he's asking for his forgiveness. Okay, let's move on. So that's here the prayers of Dhruv Maharaj ends, right? So the prayers ends, and then let's read the translations. So Shloka 18 translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, when Dhruv Maharaj, who had good intentions in his heart, finished his prayer, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees and servants, congratulated him, speaking as follows. Hare Krishna, Praveen Prabhu, can you please mute yourself?
Prabhuji, I muted.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, this story of Dhruv Maharaj is being done as a discussion between Vidura and Maitreya Rishi, right? So and Dhruv Maharaj has just completed his prayers, and that's where it just continues, right? So the Supreme Lord will now speak to Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj offered his prayers after being blessed by the Lord by touching his conch shell, where he got all the knowledge of the Vedas and understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he has finished his prayers, and now the Supreme Lord will talk to Dhruv Maharaj. Okay, let's look at it. Yeah. The personality of Godhead said, "My dear Dhruva, son of the king, you have executed pious vows, and I also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall favor you with its fulfillment. All good fortune unto you." So the Supreme Lord is saying, Dhruv Maharaj, that you have asked for a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma, and it is very ambitious. I mean, you are only a 5-year-old boy, and you want a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma, and that wish is very difficult to fulfill. But since you have done exceptional devotional service, I will fulfill that desire. And we can see this, right? The Lord always fulfills the desires of his devotees, and when the Lord knows that they will not deviate from the path of devotional service. See, the Lord will fulfill all our spiritual desires, whatever we ask for the Lord. If you want to, let's say you have a desire where you want to increase your chanting, and if you sincerely ask the Lord for it, he will definitely grant this spiritual desires. If you ask him for more service, he will definitely give you those services. But the Lord will not fulfill those desires which will become a hindrance in the devotional service. So what happens is, generally people ask for more wealth, more uh, opulence, and when they get that, they forget the Supreme Lord, and that's why the Lord does not want to grant those desires, especially to his devotees, right? So but here, the Lord, understanding the heart of his devotee, the Lord knows that Dhruv Maharaj will not get deviated from his devotional service. He will grant him all his desires, and we'll see what the Lord grants him. So we'll move ahead. So just one important thing in that. Sorry, I will go back. So here you see this example illustrates that a highly qualified devotee can have the facility of material enjoyment and at the same time execute love of God. This, however, was a special case for Dhruv Maharaj, right? The Lord knew that he was such a great devotee that in spite of having material opulences, he would never be deviated from the love of God. And that's why he granted that wish, right? Generally, the Lord does not award. So all this is mentioned, right? This is a very, very important thing, right? People generally say that the Lord is he does not listen to our prayers. But the point here is, what kind of prayers are we, or what kind of desires are we taking to the Lord, right? We are asking for, give me bread, give me this, give me that, give me this, right? But then the Lord will not grant those. But for pure devotees, the Lord does grant them even material opulences when he knows that that will not become an hindrance for executing the devotional service. So the Lord is so merciful that he does not want us to get deviated from that devotional service, because that's the most important thing for a devotee. In fact, for anybody, that is the most important thing, and the Lord does not want us to get deviated from it. And that's why sometimes we don't get our wishes fulfilled, right? We feel that, oh, I did so much, and that's where that understanding of why is the Lord not hearing my prayers, and why am I not getting what I want. So this understanding is very important, that the Lord will only grant those wishes which will help us in the execution of devotional service. Okay. Let's look at 20 and 21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead continued, "My dear Dhruva, I shall award you the glowing planet known as the pole star, which will continue to exist even after the dissolution at the end of the millennium. No one has ever ruled this planet, which is surrounded by all the solar systems, planets, and stars. All the luminaries in the sky circumambulate this planet, just as bulls tread around a central pole for the purpose of crushing grains. Keeping the pole star to their right, all the stars inhabited by the great sages like Dharma, Agni, Kashyapa, and Shukra circumambulate this planet, which continues to exist even after the dissolution of all others. Okay, so the Supreme Lord is granting the first wish of Dhruv Maharaj, where he had asked for a kingdom greater than the Lord Brahma. So, this kingdom, the pole star, and what is the important thing here? That this we will, I mean, you see this, which continues to exist even after dissolution of others. So this kingdom Dhruva Loka will not get destroyed during the time of dissolution, and it's a Vaikuntha Loka. That's what the Supreme Lord is actually granting him. He is granting him a planet uh, as good as Vaikuntha Loka. Not as good as, it is Vaikuntha Loka only. It is one of the Vaikuntha Lokas. You can think about it like this. And so he is getting a kingdom greater than Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma cannot go to this planet called Dhruvaloka. He is not allowed to enter this planet because he is part of the material existence or material creation. But Dhruv Maharaj is getting a kingdom of Dhruvaloka, right? And one more important thing is this seven. I mean, the Vedic cosmos or the Vedic description of the universe in terms of planets and other things is like there are 14 planetary systems, and then there are different presiding deities for each of those planets, and so on and so forth. So what I mean, the what our modern astronomy talks about as the it's different from that, but you can I would say converge both of these views, but that requires a very deep understanding of how the Vedic how Srimad Bhagavatam actually describes this Vedic cosmology in Canto 5, and where it talks about the 14 planetary systems, and it also talks about these seven this stars inhabited by great stages, these seven stars, and then how Vaikuntha Lokas are present, and so on and so forth. So all that is described, but we'll not go into those details here. But just for reference, you can go to Canto 5, where all the description of the Vedic cosmology is given. Okay, let's move on. 4.9.22 translation. After your father goes to the forest and awards you the rule of his kingdom, you will rule continuously the entire world for 36,000 years, and all your senses will continue to be as strong as they are now. You will never become old. So this is the second wish which the Lord is granting him, that he will rule the world. He will rule in this world for 36,000 years. And Prabhupada makes a comment here that people in Satyuga used to live for 100,000 years. So Dhruv Maharaj ruling for 36,000 years is very, very much possible. So Dhruv Maharaj is getting a kingdom, is getting to rule this material world also for 36,000 years. Okay, he wanted to sit on the lap of his father, right? Essentially, how his stepmother treated it is like he's trying to sit on the throne, right? Which she did not want. She wanted her son Uttama to sit on the throne, and that's why she chastised Dhruv Maharaj, right? To prevent him from sitting on the lap of his father. So the Supreme Lord is now granting that second wish, that you can now rule the kingdom of earth for 36,000 years. Okay. 4.9.23. Anybody would like to read the translation?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. After your father goes to the forest and awards you
Sorry,
the rule of
Prabhuji.
his.
It's 23.
Okay, my screen is showing 22, Prabhuji.
Oh, sorry. Is it not refreshing?
Yeah,
Let me.
now I can see.
Sorry. Let me.
Got it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. The Lord continued, sometime in the future, your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother Suruchi, being maddened upon the death of her son, will go to search him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire.
Hare Krishna. Now, can anybody think or understand why would the Supreme Lord say this? Why would he say that Uttama will be killed and her mother will also be killed? Anybody? Any guesses on this? So again, let's try to understand, right? See, Dhruv Maharaj came to the forest with a revengeful attitude, right? He had that grudge against Uttama and her mother Suruchi, stepmother Suruchi, right? I mean, though Uttama was passive, Uttama did not do anything, right? He was passive in this whole episode. He's also a small child. He's passive. He's just sitting on the lap of his father, and it is mainly the stepmother Suruchi who had chastised Dhruv Maharaj. Now, the thing here is Dhruv Maharaj is a top-notch Vaishnava, right? He's a Uttam Adhikari, right? And anybody who actually commits offenses onto a Vaishnava, his I mean, his destruction is complete. His destruction is guaranteed. And now there are two perspectives to this, right? Uttama being, I mean, he being passive, and the stepmother Suruchi also, she actually repented, right, after Dhruv Maharaj went home. So, but the Supreme Lord is just trying to give an example of showing that any offenses committed onto the Vaishnavas is punished, and that's why he's saying that Uttama will be killed and Suruchi will also die. And though it looks on the surface, it looks to be a ghastly death, but since they Uttama and Suruchi, they become favorable to Dhruv Maharaj, so they will go to a better destination. So it from on the material platform, it looks like they are being punished and killed, but if you look at it from another perspective, it is that Uttama and Suruchi will also go to a higher destination. And but the Supreme Lord here is making a very, very clear example out of them, that if you commit an offense onto a Vaishnava, your destruction is for sure to happen, because the Lord, I mean, you can insult the Lord once, he will tolerate it, but insulting the devotees of the Lord or committing offenses onto the lotus feet of the Lord, it never goes unpunished. So that's why we should be very careful not to commit Vaishnava aparadhs. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, the Vaishnava committing Vaishnava aparadh is compared to a mad elephant who destroys our bhakti, right? So we must be very, very careful not to commit Vaishnava aparadh, either intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, right? And that's what Prabhupada is also talking here about Dhruv Maharaj being a Vaishnava and was not an ordinary person. So that's what it is. Okay, let's move on. The Lord continued, I am the heart of all sacrifices. You will be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you will be able to enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life. And at the time of your death, you will be able to remember me. So the Lord is giving him the greatest benediction. Ante Narayana Smriti. Antakale Narayana Smriti. Right? At the time of death, you will be able to remember me. Essentially, the Lord is saying that you will come to me. After your death, you will come to me. So this is the third benediction which the Lord is granting Dhruv Maharaj. Okay. Now the Prabhupada in this purport. Sorry, there are two wishes which are granted here, that you will be able to perform many great sacrifices and give great charities, and then you will come back to me. So what Prabhupada is saying, that in Kali Yuga, the greatest sacrifice is performance of Sankirtana Yajna, and ISKCON society provides us with ample facility to do this Sankirtana Yajna, and we should always participate in this Sankirtana Yajna. And that is the Yajna for Kali Yuga. So if we perform Sankirtana Yajna in whatever way we can, that is our greatest, I mean, that is one of the, so we are doing great sacrifices. That is what it is. In Kali Yuga, doing Sankirtana is the greatest sacrifice which we can do. Okay. Let's move on. 9 point, just give me a second. Okay, so 4.9.25. The personality of Godhead continued. My dear Dhruva, after your material life in this body, you will go to my planet, which is always offered obeisances by residents of all other planetary systems. It is situated above the planets of the 7 rishis, and having gone there, you will never have to come back again to this material world, right? So he's granting him the wish. You have got a greater, is giving him his abode, basically is giving him residence in his abode, right? Let's move on. So the Supreme Lord has granted wishes of Dhruv Maharaj, and then Maitreya. So Maitreya Rishi is saying to Vidura, the great sage Maitreya said, after being worshipped and honored by the boy Dhruv Maharaj, and after offering him his abode, Lord Vishnu on the back of Garuda returned to his abode as Dhruv Maharaj looked on. Right? So he has granted him his kingdom, that you will come back to me, and so the Supreme Lord is now going back to his abode. Let's move on. So now this section actually talks about the lamentation of Dhruv Maharaj. He's lamenting, what did I ask for from the Supreme Lord? Now, if you think of it, right? I mean, this is what is Srimad Bhagavatam, right? If it would have been any other text or any other scripture, we would look at it like as Dhruv Maharaj has achieved everything, right? He's achieved best of the both worlds. He can rule the material kingdom, and after ruling the material kingdom, he can go back to the abode of the Supreme Lord. But still, since Dhruv, I mean, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about pure devotional service. Dhruv Maharaj is not satisfied. He's not satisfied. He's not pleased. So let's see what he says actually in this. So translation: despite having achieved the desired result of his determination by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Dhruv Maharaj was not very pleased. Thus he returned to his home. So he is now going to his home back, right? He will return from the forest. He'll return back to the kingdom of Uttanapat. Now let's see why he is not satisfied. Why is he not very pleased? So now Vidura is asking this question to Maitreya Rishi. Vidura inquired, my dear Brahmana, the abode of the Lord is very difficult to attain. It can be attained only by pure devotional service, which alone pleases the most affectionate, merciful Lord. Dhruv Maharaj achieved this position even in one life, and he was very wise and conscientious. Why then was he not very pleased? Right? So this is the question put up by Vidura to Maitreya Rishi, that why is Dhruv Maharaj not happy and pleased with what he has achieved by his devotional service. So now Maitreya Rishi will respond, right? Maitreya answered, Dhruv Maharaj's heart, which was pierced by the arrows of the harsh word of his stepmother, was greatly aggrieved, and thus, when he fixed upon his goal of life, he did not forget her misbehavior. He did not demand actual liberation from this material world, but at the end of his devotional service, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared before him, he was simply ashamed of the material demands he had in his mind. So this is what Maitreya Rishi is telling Dhruv Maharaj. Maitreya Rishi is telling Vidura that in Dhruv Maharaj started the devotional service to gain material benediction, and that's what he was ashamed of, and that's why after having the darshan of the Supreme Lord, he was not very satisfied, right? See, that's where Prabhupada puts up in his purport, a pure devotee is always free from any kind of material desires. In the material world, one's material desires are almost demonic. One thinks of others as one's enemies, right? That's what Dhruv Maharaj also thought, that Uttama is my enemy, my stepmother is my enemy. One thinks of revenge against one's enemies. One aspires to become the topmost leader or topmost person in this material world, and thus one competes with all others, right? This is demoniac mentality, right? Having trying to think of others as enemies, trying to take revenge from them, trying to think that they are being envious of others, right? This is the basic principle or basic tenet that of the demoniac quality, right? And this is why Dhruv Maharaj was not very happy even after seeing the Supreme Lord, because in his heart he knew that he had that desire for material enjoyment, and that's why he's repenting for that, right? So even in Shishtastakam prayers, right, Lord Chaitanya is saying this: na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamai, right? And he's asking for only for devotional service. So Prabhupada is quoting that verse from Shishtastakam prayers. Okay, so this has a very big purport actually, and it has some very important things. Let's read this, right? There are I will read it from here. Here in this verse, the Lord is described as Muktipati, which means one under whose lotus feet there are all kinds of mukti. There are 5 kinds of mukti: Sayujya, Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, and Sarshti. Out of these 5 muktis, which can be achieved by any person engaged in devotional service to the Lord, the one which is known as Sayujya is generally demanded by Mayavadi philosophers. It means that they want to basically merge with the Supreme Brahman. That is what is Sayujya Mukti. Sarupya means you want a form of the Lord, a form as same as the Supreme Lord, right? The demand to become one with the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord. In the opinion of many scholars, this Sayujya Mukti, though counted among the 5 kinds of Mukti, is not actually Mukti, because from Sayujya Mukti, one may again fall down to this material world. This information we have from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, wherein it is said, Patanti Adaha, which means they again fall down. The monist philosopher, after executing severe austerity, merges into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. But the living entity always wants reciprocation in loving affairs. Therefore, although the monist philosopher is elevated to the status of being one with the effulgence of the Lord, because there is no facility for associating with the Lord and rendering service unto him, he again falls down into this material world, and his service propensity is satisfied by materialistic welfare activities like humanitarianism, altruism, and philanthropy. There are many instances of such fall downs even for great sannyasis in the Mayavada school. So Prabhupada is talking about, this merging into Brahman is it's basically there is no activity, right? There is no activity, and since there is no activity, one may fall down, and that's why this is not considered to be very good mukti, or this is not a very good state of to be in. And we if you look at like Shishupal or even Kamsa or others who were killed by Lord Krishna, they actually received this kind of mukti, Sayujya mukti, right? Where they as Bhagavatam states, right, when Shishupal was killed, his soul actually merged into the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, right? He actually went to the Brahman. He merged with the Brahman, basically, right? So this has great purport. I would say please read it after the class. This purport has lot of things in it. I will not go over each of them for want of time. So let's move ahead. 4.9.30. Dhruv Maharaj. So now Dhruv Maharaj is speaking. Again, all this is happening in conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, right? So Dhruv Maharaj thought to himself, to endeavor to be situated in the lotus feet of the Lord is not an ordinary task, because even great brahmacharis headed by Sanandana, who practice Ashtanga Yoga in trance, attained the shelter of the lotus feet only after many births. Within 6 months, I achieved the same result. Yet, due to my thinking differently from the Lord, I fell down from my position. So Dhruv Maharaj is repenting. His himself explains the cause of his moroseness, right? He has seen the Supreme Lord, and he could have. It's like, let's say, Lilananda Prabhuji gives this example, right? It's like you have a problem with your PAN card, right? You want to update the address of your PAN card, and you have the finance minister, you know the finance minister, and you are asking him to do, please get my address updated on the PAN card. I mean, this is what the finance minister has powers where he can do something where you did not pay income tax for the rest of your life, right? So your PAN can be put in such a state that you need not pay income tax for the rest of your life. But what you are asking for is, you're asking to get my address updated on the PAN card. And that's, it's a very a crude example, but just to give you a comparison, this is what Dhruv Maharaj thinks, that I had the darshan of the Supreme Lord, and what I've asked for material benedictions, right? So he is very much morose about this. Okay. Anybody would want to read translation for this?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhuji.
Alas, just look at me. I am so unfortunate. I approach the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can immediately cut the chain of the repetition of birth and death. But still, out of my foolishness, I prayed for things which are perishable.
Correct. Okay. So Dhruv Maharaj is again saying this, right? He can immediately cut the chain of repetition of birth, and then I've asked for material benediction. So he's not at all happy with himself for what he had done, right? So he's basically saying that he did devotional service under Narad Muni. Now Narad Muni again is not a ordinary person, right? He's a topmost guru, right? And he performed devotional service under Narad Muni. He got that Vishnu mantra, right? This is what Prabhupada is saying here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And though he was, so Dhruv Maharaj is regretting that though he was initiated in the Vishnu mantra, he asked for material benediction and have strived for material benefits, right? So he is not, again and again, Dhruv Maharaj is saying that that I have asked for material benedictions and I had all the great fortune, but I have misused it, right? So this is a lesson for all of us, right? That whenever we perform devotional service to the Lord, we should not ask for any material benediction from the Lord. Let's move on. 32. Anybody would read? Want to read?
Let me try, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Translation. Since all the demigods who are situated in the higher planetary system will have to come down again, they are all envious of my being elevated to Vaikuntha by devotional service. The, the intolerant demigods have dissipated my intelligence, and only for this reason could I not accept the genuine vindication of the instruction of says Narada. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So what was the instruction of Narad Muni? First instruction Narad Muni said was, please go back home, right? So Dhruv Maharaj did not want to take that. He said, no, I want a kingdom. And so Dhruv Maharaj is repenting all this, right? See here, Prabhupada says that Narada advised him to go back home, right? And then when he becomes mature, he could try practice devotional service. But Dhruv Maharaj did not accept that advice, and he did perform devotional service, but he performed it with sense of revenge and sense of envy in him, and that's what he is repenting, and he's saying that these demigods who are, I mean, all our senses are basically controlled by demigods, right? Even when we blink our eyelid, there is a demigod for that, right? Nimi, right? So you cannot blink your eyelids. So all our senses are actually controlled by demigods, and Dhruv Maharaj is saying that these demigods, they were they do not want me to go to Vaikuntha Loka. They are envious of this, and so they have polluted my intelligence, and hence I have asked for a wrong benediction. Now you might think that it's like he's venting out an anger against somebody, but it's not like that. He's just trying to warn us that we should be careful and not ask for benedictions from demigods. That's what he's trying to say here, right? It's not that he's trying to uh, uh, I mean, he's not trying to be envious of them, right? So that's an important thing. See, Bhagavatam, if you read, it's filled with lessons for us, right? When you read Bhagavatam, all the examples which are given, they have great lessons for us. And Dhruv Maharaj story or character and life story is also a lesson for us practicing devotees, that we should be careful of what we ask from the Supreme Lord. Let's move on. 33. Dhruv Maharaj lamented, I was under the influence of the illusory energy, being ignorant of the actual facts. I was sleeping on her lap. Under a vision of duality, I saw my brother as my enemy, and falsely I lamented within my heart, thinking they are my enemies. Right? So again, he's saying that I had that grudge against my brother and my mother, that and I was thinking them to be my enemy. So this is also again we can say that Dhruv Maharaj was not a Uttam Adhikari, right, at that time when he started that devotional service. So because an Uttam Adhikari sees everybody equally, right? There is no he makes no distinction between somebody who is a friend and an enemy, right? And he treats them equally. So and Dhruv Maharaj is actually repenting that why I had this vision of duality. In fact, I was under the influence of Maya, and I was because of that I am not I mean, he's not happy even though he has achieved everything what he wanted. Okay. 34. It is very difficult to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in my case, although I have satisfied the super soul of the whole universe, I have prayed only for useless things. My activities were exactly like treatment given to a person who is already dead. Just see how unfortunate I am, for in spite of meeting the Supreme Lord, who can cut one's link with birth and death, I have prayed for the same conditions again. See, basically Dhruv Maharaj thought that the Supreme Lord will grant him his devotional service directly. But he did not get that, right? I mean, he realized that I did not ask for devotional service directly, and that's why he's again and again saying that I've asked for material benedictions. I have, in spite of me having got a very good kingdom to rule the material world also, and I'm also going to go to Vaikuntha Loka, but then there is a time, right? He has to stay on this material world, and for a devotee, direct devotional service to the Supreme Lord is far greater than anything else. And then, since there is a time, I mean, there is a difference, there is a time between when he can go back to the Supreme Lord. He is not happy because of that, right? Anybody want to read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Translation. Because of my state of complete foolishness and perpetuity of pious activities, although the Lord offered me his personal service, I wanted material name, fame, and prosperity. My case is just like that, of the poor man who, when he satisfied a greater emperor who wanted to give him anything he might ask out of ignorance, asked only a few broken grains of husked rice. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So foolishness and paucity of pious activities, right? That is what Dhruv Maharaj is saying, that the Lord offered him personal service. Again that same thing, right? You had a great fortune of meeting the Supreme Lord. You could have asked for his direct service, and instead of that you have asked for something which is temporary, right? Material name, fame, and prosperity. That's what he's saying. Okay. Again, there is see, the purports of this are very, very good. I would ask everybody to please read the purports. They are very, very instructive about what we should ask from the Supreme Lord, and what should be our desire and goals. So please go ahead and read the purports after, but we'll just move ahead. Translation. So the great sage Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, persons like you who are pure devotees of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can offer liberation, and who are always attached to the honey of his lotus feet, are always satisfied in serving the lotus at the lotus feet of the Lord. In any conditions of life, such persons remain satisfied, and thus they never ask the Lord for material prosperity." So Maitreya Rishi is telling this to Vidura, that you are a pure devotee of the Lord, and you have not asked anything from the Lord. So this is what that is a discussion happening between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. 37. So now what has happened is, now Dhruv Maharaj will go back to the kingdom of Uttanapad. Actually, after Dhruv Maharaj went to the forest, Narad Muni had come to the kingdom of Uttanapad, and he explained Uttanapad what his son is going to do, and he had assured Uttanapad that your son will come back, and he would achieve great result. So now Uttanapad comes to know that his son Dhruv Maharaj is going to come back. So he gets that news. So let's read the translation. When King Uttanapad heard that his son Dhruva was coming back home, as if coming back to life after that, he could not put his faith in this message, for he was doubtful of how it could happen. He considered himself the most wretched, and therefore he thought that it was not possible for him to attain such a good fortune. So Uttanapad, after, I mean, in 8th chapter, when Uttanapad met Narad Muni, he was very repentant. He understood his mistake, and he was very repentant, and he had become very morose, because he understood that because of him, his son had gone to the forest. So and that's why when he got the news that Dhruv Maharaj is going to come back, he was very happy, and he could not believe his his good fortune, because he thought that once his son goes to the forest, he would die there. But he is saying he's now very, very happy to hear this news that his son Dhruva is coming back. And also, one must understand that once somebody becomes a devotee of the Lord, everybody will praise him, right? At least at that time. Right now, nowadays it's slightly different. This is Kali Yuga, but at that time, when somebody became a devotee of the Lord, people used to respect and love them, right? So Dhruv Maharaj is King Uttanapad is therefore very, very happy to know that his son is coming back, and he also knows that his son has now become a devotee, right? So that's why he's also saying that he has such good fortune, right? 38. Although he could not believe the words of the messenger, he had full faith in the words of the great sage Narada. That's what I said, right? Narad Muni had come to the kingdom of Uttanapad. Thus, he was greatly overwhelmed by the news, and he immediately offered the messenger a highly valuable necklace in great satisfaction. Okay. 3940. Then King Uttanapad, being very eager to see the face of his lost son, mounted a chariot drawn by excellent horses and bedecked with golden filigree. Taking with him many learned brahmanas, all the elderly personalities of his family, his officers, his ministers, and his immediate friends, he immediately left the city. As he proceeded in this parade, there were auspicious sounds of conch shells, kettle drums, flutes, and chanting of the Vedic mantras to indicate all good fortune, right? So King Uttanapad is getting ready to welcome Dhruv Maharaj to his kingdom. 41. Both the queens of the king Uttanapad, namely Suniti and Suruchi, along with other son Uttama, appeared in the procession. The queens were seated on a palanquin. Now, here you can see the greatness of Suniti also, right? Suniti, Suruchi, and Uttama, they are all sitting in the same palanquin, right? So it's not that Queen Suniti has basically saying to Suruchi that you sent my son to the forest, so you should not come. No, she is taking Suruchi along and Uttama, and they are all sitting on the same palanquin, right? And Prabhupada does mention that, right? This is the greatest quality of the Vaishnava, right? And so this shows the Vaishnavi's quality of Queen Suniti. And she had great compassion, right? And she being a Vaishnavi, she actually asked Suruchi to come along, and also her son Uttama. And if you again, the another lesson is like, since Suniti was such a great Vaishnavi, she could make her son into a first class devotee, right? So if the parents practice devotional service seriously, the children also take to it very easily, right? So there is this very direct example of this here. 42, 43. Upon seeing Dhruv Maharaj approaching the neighboring small forest, King Uttanapad with great haste got down from his chariot. He had been very anxious for a long time to see his son Dhruva, and therefore with great love and affection he went forward to embrace his long lost boy. Breathing very heavily, the king embraced him with both arms. But Dhruv Maharaj was not the same as before. He was completely sanctified by spiritual advancement due to having been touched by the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. 4.9.44. Reunion with Dhruv Maharaj fulfilled King Uttanapad's long cherished desire, and for this reason he smelled Dhruva's head again and again and bathed him with torrents of very cold tears, right? So we see that even in Prahlad Maharaj pastime, right? Lord Narsingadev is again and again smelling the head of Prahlad Maharaj, right? That we see that here also. Uttanapad, out of affection for Dhruv Maharaj, is smelling the Dhruv Maharaj's head again and again. 45. Then Dhruv Maharaj, the foremost of all nobles, first of all offered his obeisances at the feet of his father and was honored by his father with various questions. He then bowed his head at the feet of his two mothers, right? So Dhruv Maharaj did not ignore his mother Suruchi, right? He bowed his head at the feet of his mother's Suruchi as well, right? Suruchi, the younger mother of Dhruv Maharaj, seeing that the innocent boy had fallen at her feet, immediately picked him up, embracing him with her hands, and with tears of feeling, she blessed him with the words, "My dear boy, long may you live." Now you can see the contrast of what had happened earlier and what is happening now. Earlier, Queen Suruchi had said to Dhruv Maharaj that you have not taken birth from my womb, so you cannot sit on the so if you want to sit on the lap of your father, you must take birth from my womb, right? She asked him to worship Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and take birth from my womb, then only you can sit on the lap of King Uttanapad, right? In a way she was saying that you die, right? That's, I mean, take birth from my womb is you die now and then you can take birth from my womb. But now you can see what she's saying, my dear boy, long may you live, right? So that's what is the transformation in the hearts of people when they see a devotee, right? Dhruv Maharaj had become a devotee, and you can see the transformation in Queen Suruchi's heart as well. Unto 47, unto one who has transcendental qualities due to friendly behavior with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities offer honor, just as water automatically flows down by nature, right? This is what it is, right? Unto one who has transcendental qualities due to friendly behavior with the Supreme. So one who becomes a devotee of the Lord, all living entities offer honor, just as water automatically flows down from nature, right? And that we can see clearly from the previous verses by the behavior of the king, behavior of the queen, and behavior of others. 48. The two brothers, Uttama and Dhruv Maharaj, also exchanged their tears. They were overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love and affection. And when they embraced one another, the hair on their bodies stood up. So Dhruv Maharaj had given up any animosity towards Uttama. And in fact, Uttama was very passive in that pastime, right? So Dhruv Maharaj understood that Uttama had not done any mistake. And also since he had become a devotee, he could see that everybody is, I mean, he could have that understanding that the Supreme Lord is sitting even Uttama's heart, right? And that's why he embraced him, and they exchanged their tears. Moving on, 49. Suniti, the real mother of Dhruv Maharaj, embraced the tender body of her son, who was dearer to her than her own life, and thus forgot all material grief, for she was very pleased. Let's move on. It's very straightforward. My dear Vidura, Suniti was the mother of a great hero. Her tears, together with the milk flowing from her breast, wet the whole body of Dhruv Maharaj. This was a great auspicious sign. So it's like kind of coronation for Dhruv Maharaj, right? When you coronate a king, he's bathed with water and milk, right? So her mother Suniti is actually bathing Dhruv Maharaj with milk and with water, with tears from her eyes, right? 51. The residents of the palace praised the queen. Dear queen, your beloved son was lost a long time ago, and it is your great fortune that he now has come back. It appears, therefore, that your son will be able to protect you for a very long time and will put an end to all your material pangs. 52. Dear Queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead who delivers his devotees from the greatest dangers. Persons who constantly meditate upon him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. So the residents of the residents of the kingdom of Uttanapad is praising Queen Suniti. I think we can stop here, Prabhuji, or should I finish it off? There are 7 more shlokas in this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, please continue.
Okay. The sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, when everyone was thus praising Dhruv Maharaj, the king was very happy, and he had Dhruva and his brother seated on the back of a she elephant. Then he returned to his capital, where he was praised by all classes of men. So they are just coming back. 54. The whole city was decorated with columns of banana trees containing bunches of fruits and flowers, and betel nut trees with leaves and branches were seen here and there. There were also many gates set up, which were structured to give the appearance of sharks. Okay, this again describes the kingdom, and we also use banana trees, right? For anything auspicious or any festival, we do have those banana trees. That is considered, banana trees are considered very auspicious in Vedic culture. 55. At each and every gate, there were burning lamps and big water pots decorated with differently colored cloth, string of pearls, flower garlands, and hanging mango leaves. So we also do this, right? We also have flower garlands. We also have these hanging mango leaves, right? On Dashera we do this. On Diwali we do this, right? So this is all coming from this Vedic culture, right? Vedic, the traditional Vedic ways, right? And there are reasons for doing all of this. 56. In the capital city, there were many palaces, city gates, and surrounding walls, which were already very, very beautiful. And on this occasion, all of them were decorated with golden ornaments. The domes of the city palaces glittered, as did the domes of the beautiful airplanes which hovered over the city. Now it's talking about airplanes, right? So there were airplanes at that time itself. Okay, and they were not like our airplanes right now, which need fuel. These airplanes worked on Vedic mantras. So I mean, the things were way advanced. We cannot understand these opulences. I mean, we feel these are not real. It's just that because we have not experienced any of this, we feel this is not real. But these are things which were very, very real. And this prosperity was there because people were God conscious. That is the only reason that people in the past had a lot of prosperity. 57. All the quadrangles, lanes, and streets in the city and the raised sitting places at the crossing were thoroughly cleansed and sprinkled with sandalwood water, and auspicious grains such as rice and barley and flowers, fruits, and many other auspicious presentations were scattered all over the city. So this is just a description of the city of King Uttanapad. 58 and 59. Thus, as Dhruv Maharaj passed on the road, from every place in the neighborhood, all the gentle household ladies assembled to see him, and out of maternal affection, they offered their blessings, showering him with white mustard seed, barley, curd, water, newly grown grass, fruits, and flowers. In this way, Dhruv Maharaj, while hearing the pleasing song sung by the ladies, entered the palace of his father. Dhruv Maharaj thereafter lived in his father's palace, which had walls bedecked with highly valuable jewels. His affectionate father took particular care of him, and he dwelt in that house just as the demigods live in their palaces in the higher planetary system. So the opulence of Uttanapad was similar to like that of demigods. The bedding in the palace was as white as the foam of milk and was very soft. The bedsteads were made of ivory with embellishment of gold, and the chairs, benches, and other sitting places and furnitures were made of gold. So we will just continue this. Again, as I'm saying, we cannot imagine, right? Because we have not seen all these things, but that was the kind of opulence which was there at that time. The palace of the king was surrounded by walls made of marble with many engravings made of valuable jewels like sapphires, which depicted beautiful women with shining jewel lamps in their hands. Okay. 63. The king's residence was surrounded by gardens wherein there were varieties of trees brought from heavenly planets. In those trees there were pairs of sweetly singing birds and almost mad bumblebees, which made a very relishing buzzing sound. There were emerald staircases which led to lakes full of variously colored lotus flowers and lilies and swans. Karandavas, Chakravakas, cranes, and similar other valuable birds were visible in those lakes. Okay. Again, all description of the opulence and of King Uttanapad. The saintly King Uttanapad, hearing of the glorious deeds of Dhruv Maharaj and personally seeing also how influential and great he was, felt very satisfied. For Dhruva's activities were wonderful to the supreme degree. Again, since Dhruv Maharaj had become a devotee, his activities and his day-to-day activities were wonderful, and he always, he had that understanding of the Supreme Lord. So his dealings with others, his behavior, his activities, they were all wonderful, right? That's what happens when you become, people talk about all this moral science and all that. See, you become, a good person, a devotee automatically becomes a good person, and that's where we should aim to become a devotee rather than trying to become a good person, because the moment you become a devotee, you automatically become a good person. After concentration, King Uttanapad saw that Dhruv Maharaj was suitably mature to take charge of the kingdom, and that his ministers were agreeable and the citizens were also very fond of him. He enthroned Dhruva as the emperor of this planet. So King Uttanapad coronated Dhruv Maharaj. Now this is happening even before marriage of Dhruv Maharaj. Okay. After considering his advanced age and deliberating on the welfare of his spiritual self, King Uttanapad detached himself from worldly affairs and entered the forest. So this is an example of Raja Rishi, that he was not attached to his kingdom, and when time came, he simply decided to retire and focus on doing bhajan for the Supreme Lord. Right? That is what was Raja Rishi. They were never attached to their kingdom, and when time came, they simply left the kingdom. You can see the opulence of the king, but still he's not attached to any of that. And once the time came, he simply left the kingdom. So here it ends the 9th chapter. In the 10th chapter, then we'll continue the story of Dhruv Maharaj. So it's still 12th chapter where the story of Dhruv Maharaj will continue. So we will stop here. If there are questions, comments, reflections, please go ahead. And I'm extremely thankful for this service. This is Adhik Maas, and reading Srimad Bhagavatam is a blessing in Adhik Maas. Especially this prayers of Dhruv Maharaj are very, very exalted. And I got this opportunity to study them and to read them and to talk about it. So I'm really grateful. Also, please forgive me if I've spoken something which might have hurt you. I seek your forgiveness for that.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wonderful session.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It's really wonderful chapter, wonderful purports.
Yeah, the purports are actually very good. We cannot do justice to it in one class. The purports are very, very detailed, and we should actually read them line by line and go through them, especially till the time when Dhruv Maharaj, he decides to go back to home, right? He is lamenting. So there are many lessons in that, those purports. Prabhupada has written a very good purports to those shlokas actually.
I have one question, Prabhu.
Yeah,
So,
please, Prabhuji.
like, see, after all that, like he has done the prayers and all that, Prabhu. During that, uh, we see that like he's glorifying impersonal form of God as well, Prabhu. So,
Yes.
because okay, Dhruva Maharaj has seen the person Krishna, okay, with 4 hands and all that he has seen. So, why he is glorifying impersonal as well, Prabhu? That I
He's actually saying that you are the same Brahman. I mean, he's saying that. So what he's trying to bring out is that the Lord has a personal aspect as well as an impersonal aspect. So and both of them, he's saying that it is same. You are same because you are same as the Brahman. I'm paying obeisances to you, right? That's what he says in that shloka. It's not that he's not. I mean, he's only glorifying the impersonal Brahman, right? He's seeing the Lord, but he's also recognizing the impersonal aspect of the Lord. It's not that because he has that complete understanding and he can now see that impersonal aspect of the Lord also. That's why he's mentioning that and he's paying obeisances to that impersonal form also. It doesn't mean that he's not aware of the personal aspect, or he just wants to glorify only the impersonal aspect. He's glorifying every aspect of the Supreme Lord. Exactly.
Yeah, okay, both impersonal and personal.
Personal,
Understood.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So mainly his lamentation and all, so many slokas are there in the lamentation, Prabhu. So his
Yes.
lamentation because because he got a mercy that he is going to be there in material world, and also at end he is going to be there in spiritual world also. That is what he
Correct.
got. No,
See,
his lamentation is that he has not broken immediately. He wants to go back to Godhead immediately.
No, his lamentation is that he started devotional service with material benediction. He wanted material benediction. That is one of the things which he is lamenting for, that I did not start devotional service just to get the Lord. I started my devotional service to achieve this from the Lord. So he had a checklist that I want this from the Lord, right? And that's what he's lamenting. Generally, and this if you look at the story of Dhruv Maharaj, the lessons which we can learn is that we should not try to ask for material benedictions from the Supreme Lord. The second thing is, what we can learn is that bhakti transforms everything, right? Even if you have material desires and you start bhakti, the result can be auspicious. That also comes out from this, right? The results are auspicious for Dhruv Maharaj, that he got the darshan of the Supreme Lord, and he also got benedictions, though the Supreme Lord fulfilled his material desires. And why did the Lord fulfill the material desires? Is because he understood, he knew that Dhruv Maharaj will not get deviated from the path of devotional service. So that's why the Lord actually granted him those material desires also. Otherwise, the Lord generally will not grant any material desires, especially to his devotees. In fact, he will do the reverse. He will take away all that material things from the devotees, right?
Got it. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful answer, wonderful explanation from your side. Yeah, got it. It is clear. Only these two, when I was listening, I had the questions. Yeah, he was lamented so much. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
this Dhruv Loka comes under material or the spiritual?
It's a spiritual thing, right, Prabhuji? It does not, as mentioned here, right? It does not get dissolved when pralay happens, right? Or during the total dissolution, that planet is not destroyed. It is there. So it's a Vaikuntha Loka. And
Okay.
Prabhupada actually mentions that in that commentary in the purports. This is clearly mentioned. It's part of the Vaikuntha Loka. The Supreme Lord stays there.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, then if there are no further questions, and so we'll close the class. Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
everyone.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Sorry, I gave you a last minute
No,
notice.
Prabhuji, I am very happy. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Thank you. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद